The astronauts are back from the moon. Rory McIlroy just won back-to-back Masters tournaments. The Reds sent me a City Connect jersey, and it's hot outside again. And oh, by the way, we're just a few days away from the NFL draft. We got a lot to talk about before we even get to the football. Let's get started. Hi, hello, and welcome in to the Ball Don't Lie podcast. This is episode number 182. My name's Auty Elmore. You can call me Austin or Auty. I don't care. I'm your host. Thank you for being here. Let's start with the stuff that's not football related, but I'll tell you what's coming up in the football department. I'm going to give you three players that perfectly match what the Bengals want. Not necessarily their needs, not necessarily what the Bengals are going to do, but the things that players that are within the realm of possibility for the Bengals to draft, three guys, and what they want out of those players and why the Bengals are going to be so attracted to them and potentially picking them at number 10 if those three guys are available. That's coming up football-wise. First of all, last week I pontificated for a few moments about the moon and the Artemis mission, and it was really cool Friday night to see them come back with seemingly no issues, and the heat shield was fine, and just the welcome that they got from that ship out in San Diego, and just the way that they kind of captured the hearts of the United States and even Canada with one of the astronauts being from Canada. I thought it was really cool, and I've been wondering in my lifetime, before I'm dead, let's say this whole plan goes relatively smoothly, right? So next year they're sending up another module, then they're going to start building a base on the moon, and then eventually the base on the moon is essentially going to be a gas station for manned missions to Mars, that sort of stuff, right? So I'm wondering, I'm 30 years old, I turn 31 next month. In my lifetime, will I see man on Mars? Could I see man orbit Mars? I feel like that's most likely of the possibilities. But does man go and actually walk the surface of Mars before I die? So sometime in the next, well, it could be 2 hours to the next 30 years. I don't know. 40 years. I don't know. But that's something I've been thinking about. Kind of crazy to think about. Rory McIlroy won the Masters. This is my favorite event of the year. It's number one on my bucket list is to go to the Masters tournament. There's like this mystique, this prestige, this exclusivity and excitement that surrounds the Masters and Augusta National Golf Club that I'm so enamored by. And I'm a Rory fan, and I'm mainly a Rory fan because I was a Tiger fan for a long time, and I still am a Tiger fan, and God knows he needs help. But like Rory was also that kid, and his story, he was an only child like me, and his parents just like did everything in their power to like push him and help him to use the game of golf, and he turns it into to being a professional. He was going to go to East Tennessee State University, and he's like, no, I'm just going to go pro instead. And he's won these majors, and he's this Masters champion, and he's fixed his marriage, and he's got this beautiful daughter, and it's just like the story of Rory and all the stuff with the PGA Tour and Live and him standing up to those people. I'm just a fan of the guy. I saw a lot of criticism about him this week. I'm not a huge fan of, but to see him be able to pull that off and the struggles and the roller coaster that was at Augusta National over the weekend, I thought that was a really cool moment for Rory McIlroy. I thought it was a really bad tournament for CBS in terms of their production of the Masters. Not good. Also, finally, before we get to the football, if you see over my shoulder over here, if you're watching on YouTube, the Reds were kind enough to send me one of the new City Connect uniforms, the Rooted in Red City Connect jerseys. And these things are sharp. They've got pinstripes. They're red. They've kind of got an homage to the vest, which are my favorite Reds uniforms of all time. They've got that white City Connect C on the front of them. I thought it was really cool that the Reds included me in this, and I really do appreciate it. I got a chance to see them in person on Saturday and watch the Reds wear them against the Angels, and they won. So maybe there's a little bit of luck in those jerseys. Either way, I think they're really cool, and I can't thank the Reds enough for including me on that. That really does mean a lot to me. So let's go to the football. The NFL draft is just over a week away in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Bengals have the 10th overall pick. None of this is new news to you. And what I'm going to tell you today may not be that big of a piece of news to you, but we have reached the point in the draft where I feel like there's a lot of repeating ourselves, right? We're all saying the same thing and the same thing and the same thing and this and that and blah, 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 blah. That's true. But I think sometimes we lose sight of the idea, especially in this particular scenario with the Bengals, that you're picking 10th in the NFL draft. More than likely, you're going to get a really good player. Whether you draft a linebacker or an edge rusher or an offensive tackle or a running back or a wide receiver or a cornerback or anybody, defensive tackle, like in the top 10 in the NFL draft, you're probably going to get a really good player that can help you right away. So the conundrum for the Bengals is which of those players fits what we need to help us right away. At least that's what it should be. I think, and I've said multiple times, both on this show and on ESPN 1530, that I don't think the Bengals view the draft as a this year thing. I think they view the draft as a in future years thing. And I think that can be a flawed process, but I do think that's part of their philosophy when it comes to roster building. And it's why I believe they're going to take a cornerback in the first round. More on that in a minute. First, a drink of coffee. That's delicious coffee. Shout out to Dorothy Lane Market. If you want to sponsor the podcast, let me know. Anyways, so the point I'm trying to make here is that we tend to overthink, right? Like if the Bengals draft an edge rusher, most of them at number 10, I'll be happy. If they draft a corner, I can't complain about that. If they draft the linebacker, I can't complain about that. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to complain about Jeremiah Love. I would have disagreements with the philosophy, but I can't really complain about Jeremiah Love. He's the best player in the draft, according to a lot of people. So for that reason, I think it's a good checkpoint here to take a deep breath and remember, okay, no matter what happens, they're probably going to get a really good player that can help them. Now, I get where Bengals fans are coming from because there have been players selected in the past that just make you say, I don't know if that's necessarily true. And you're right. But recent track record inside the top 10 would suggest the Bengals are going to make a good decision. So let's start with one of the guys that is commanding some of the attention, linebacker Sonny Styles from Ohio State. This is one of the three guys that fits what the Bengals want. All of a sudden, over the last week and a half, I've heard people that I listen to and pay attention to in the Bengals community bring up Sonny Styles, bring up the idea that the Bengals could run to the podium for Sonny Styles, that they acknowledge that they didn't do enough at linebacker in the offseason, and that they like Sonny Styles and want him on the team. So I think it's noteworthy that you don't really hear that much about what the Bengals may or may not be thinking. And then all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 guys are like, yeah, the Bengals really like Sonny Styles. Okay. They should. I mean, Sonny is a great player. He had maybe the best combine of anybody. He had a really good pro day. What people say about him at Ohio State and elsewhere is glowing in the way that they talk about him. Sonny and his brother Lorenzo both came and visited the Bengals before the draft. So that obviously is another indicator of interest. And maybe the conversations that those people have had about Sonny are born from that visit and people raving about maybe that visit with Sonny Styles. I don't know if Sonny is going to get to the Bengals at number 10, but I think it's weird that they would invest draft capital and very valuable draft capital at number 10 in the draft for a linebacker when they didn't use their financial assets to help fix that position and give themselves flexibility in the draft. We talked about the guys that they missed out on in free agency. It's weird to me that you might value a position in a position of need so much that you're willing to spend the 10th pick in the draft on it, but you're not willing to spend $10 million on it. I don't quite understand that logic for the Bengals. So it's weird to think of it in that sense. I also think it's noteworthy that Zach Taylor was asked about the idea of bringing in a rookie linebacker to deal with and to add to the room with those guys that aren't that did not play good last year and are in their second year. And I asked Paul Dehner Jr. about this. You heard it on the podcast last week, and Zach seemed to be very open to the idea of them taking another linebacker and adding a rookie linebacker to that room and asking him to do some of the things that they need him to do. So all signs in that like realm turn towards Sonny Styles being a very realistic possibility for the Bengals. So let's learn a little bit more about Sonny Styles. Most of what I'm going to be referencing today comes from The Beast, which is in The Athletic, and it's written by Dane Brugler. It's worth the price of admission. The subscription price for The Athletic alone is The Beast. I'm going to read to you some of the stuff that Dane says about Sonny Styles. He says Styles is a freaky height, weight, speed athlete with fluid change of direction and the playmaking range to cover every blade of grass. He processes quickly, delivers pop at contact as a downhill player, rarely misses tackles thanks to his ability to violently overwhelm the ball carrier. Though he plays with terrific reaction quickness, the next step in his development is to improve his anticipation, especially in coverage, so he can make more plays on the football. That right there, that little snippet, is indicative of what the Bengals linebackers did not do at any point last year. The processing, the reaction, the quickness, and the tackling. That in and of itself, neither Barrett Carter nor Demetrius Knight Jr. or Logan Wilson or any of the guys who played for the Bengals last year at linebacker, none of them did that to that level. Here's also what Dane says. He says he's outstanding size speed, who's comfortable in space, reacts well to what he sees, and plays with the physicality to mark up the stat sheet. With elite sub-package value, he has the talent to become an impact linebacker early in his NFL career. Impact linebacker early in his career. The Bengals want that. That's what they tried to draft last year. They didn't get it. Not only do they want it, but they need it. Here's some of the strengths. And you're going to, if you watch the Bengals last year, you're going to say, yep, Bengals need this. Bengals need this. Outstanding pursuit speed to cut off outside run angles. He reached 22.69 miles per hour during his 40-yard dash at the combine. His diagnostic skills showed clear and obvious improvement the past 2 years at linebacker, aka trending up and to the right, going in the right direction. He only missed 2 tackles in 2025, and they both came in the final game of the season. You know, we've talked a lot about missed tackles. Sonny Styles doesn't miss tackles. He also doesn't stick to climbers. So climbers are those offensive linemen that get from that first level to that second level to try to block linebackers. He doesn't stick to those guys. He uses lateral quickness and abrupt hands, according to Dane Brugler, to shuck those blocks. He's able to match in man-to-man with slot receivers and tight ends. That's a ridiculous ability to have and goes into his freakish athletic ability. He says he blitzes with power and burst to blow up backs and pass protection. His pass rush has yet to be weaponized. That's key when you think of how he fits with the Bengals. The Bengals are looking for a linebacker that can do a little bit of both, that can rush the passer a little bit more. His pass rush is yet to be weaponized. Last couple things here. A laid-back personality, but carries himself like a pro. Described to NFL scouts as, quote, the best leader in the program by the Ohio State coaches. He received a standing ovation during a formal interview with an NFL team following his on-field combine performance. That is unbelievable. Let me go back to the part about being a leader. I spoke with somebody at Ohio State who told me a story one time of, the offense had made a penalty or a player on the offense had made a penalty, and this is a big time player, right? This is the top flight player at Ohio State, and supposed to take a lap after you miss the penalty, after you commit the penalty, and this player was kind of him hawing and didn't want to take the lap, and Sonny Styles said, "Hey, stop practice." Said, "Hey, you're not bigger than the program. Start running." And that player started running. That sort of stuff, that sort of leadership, the Bengals are looking for that in their defense, in their locker room, in that linebacker room, all together. That sort of stuff could be very, very important. And the fact that there's a standing ovation from an NFL team after the workout, crazy. Now, there's like 18 things listed for his strengths. There's only 4 listed for his weaknesses. I'll read a couple of them. Arrives high as a tackler at times because of his height, which will be tougher to get away with versus NFL runners. He will take himself out of position when he misreads backfield action, so that has to improve. Quick to react in coverage, but doesn't play with top-tier anticipation to arrive before the ball. Goes back to that previous comment. And could do a better job ball searching to force incompletions or fumbles. Only career interception was on a right place, right time deflection. So I think ball skills are something that Sonny Styles needs to work on. And I guess the quickness to get from the ball is going to go in the air. Where is the ball going, and how do I defend that? Those are like the biggest takeaways. Like, there's very few weaknesses in the game of Sonny Styles, but you look at that size, speed, that processing, the leadership aspect, the ability to tackle. Like, those are all things that the Bengals want, and it makes sense that that's the type of player that they're looking for. Let's move on to Caleb Downs. We've talked a lot about Caleb Downs, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him, but there was something I read in The Athletic that blew me away. I'm going to take a drink of coffee. And this, in and of itself, could be the biggest reason why the Bengals want Caleb Downs. This is from Paul Dehner Jr. in The Athletic. Caleb Downs ranked in the 100th percentile for college position versatility, according to Sumer Sports. They calculated him as lining up 51.4% of the time at safety, 21.7% of the time in the slot, and 25.5% of snaps in the box, spreading all across the field. Over the course of his 3-year career, which featured a freshman year at Alabama, Caleb Downs lined up in the slot 574 times, at free safety 920 times, and in the box 865 times. That sort of positional versatility is so incredibly impressive. To be able to essentially play 3 different positions that all require 3 very different things, and to play at the level that he played, that in and of itself, especially for a Bengals team that has invested in safety like they did with Brian Cook. They also signed Kyle Duggar. They have Jordan Battle. They need defensive backs. They need a slot. All those things and that sort of positional versatility. We've heard the Bengals talk a lot about force multipliers. That's exactly what they're talking about. That type of dude to be able to play those different positions and make the players around him better, that in and of itself is something the Bengals want, and could be the biggest reason why the Bengals might want Caleb Downs on draft day. The other one is Reuben Bain Jr. We've talked about him, the edge rusher. Weird story came out with Reuben Bain Jr. this week that apparently he was charged with a reckless driving charge that ultimately led to the death of a young woman. And this apparently has been known about for months by NFL scouts, and people haven't reported on it. And I don't know if that's in an effort to try to protect Reuben Bain Jr. in his career. I don't know. The family has said they're done with it. The charges were like dropped. Like, he wasn't charged with murder or anything. She died months later. And it's a very weird situation, and very strange that it's getting brought up now. And there was one reporter who even said, like, I was trying to get a comment from this woman's family about it, and they said they wouldn't give me a comment unless I promised to publish after the draft, because they don't want to negatively affect his career. It's really strange, and I don't like that NFL people are just like, nah, we're not going to talk about it, or we're not going to report on it, or whatever. It's weird that it's coming out now. Yeah, it's not weird. It's noteworthy that it's coming out now, because it's probably from a team late in the first, probably in the top 10 or back, that wants Reuben Bain Jr. to fall. And so they're trying to use this to get him to slide. The NFL draft is a slimy and sketchy business. But there's a couple things about Reuben Bain Jr.'s profile from the Beast that I think speak to what the Bengals would want. Here's what Dane Brugler said. He has some size and speed constraints, but his power profile, leveraged attack, and tenacious play style show in all areas of his game and directly lead to backfield disruption. Backfield disruption. He projects as a scheme versatile NFL starter who can line up wide, over the tackle, or inside in the 3 technique. Again, the positional versatility and also the scheme versatility. Reuben Bain can do multiple things and do them well. Here's a couple of the strengths that Brugler listed. He has a wide-hipped, densely built frame with thick quads, bubble, and bald calves. Quick off his spots and plays at a relentless level. Heavy, deliberate rush hands to overpower blockers with clubs, chops, and rips. It's important to have those multiple things in your bag. He's able to dip his shoulder and grind the corner with the strong lower half, moves well laterally to slash gaps as a rusher from an interior alignment, stout run defender with outstanding strength to stack, anchor, and control the point of attack. Soft spoken by nature, allows his play to do the talking. Offenses that try to block him with the tight end don't do it twice. Collected 33 and a half tackles for loss and 20 and a half sacks over 38 college games. Couple things there. Number one, the strength, the ability to defend the run, the ability to play inside, the ability to play outside, all those things are exactly what the Bengals are looking for. Now, I think the Bengals believe firmly in Shamar Stewart and invested that draft capital in him. And I don't know that they're going to double up on a defensive end this year, but the ability for Reuben Bain Jr. and his strength to go inside when they need help inside, especially rushing the passer from the inside, could be a game changer and be enough for them to want to draft him. I think these are the things they want. Weaknesses for Reuben Bain Jr. He's more quick than he is explosive. He's not super bendy and sometimes can get stuck at the top of his arc. Longer tackles will be able to close space and prevent him from creating a runway. That goes back to the short arms conversation. Had at least one missed tackle on almost every 2025 tape studied. Not good, obviously. And then an injury history for Bain. Missed 4 games as a sophomore due to a soft tissue injury. He tore his left MCL his senior year of high school, and he wears a bulky brace on his left arm because of some surgery or something like that. So either way, like those are 3 guys that I think the Bengals want, and those are the reasons why they would want them. But I still think the Bengals look at cornerback and say, that's an issue that we're going to have to figure out for the next couple of years. Let's go cheap and get a first round pick. More on cornerback next week. Long story short, these guys all fit what the Bengals want in terms of versatility, in terms of athleticism, and in terms of leadership. But do they fit into the way the Bengals operate, which is thinking about next year more than thinking about this year? That's the big question. By the way, I'm going to be on the air the night of the NFL draft. We're going to be at Dickman's in Fort Wright, Kentucky. So it's going to be 6 to midnight. 6 to 8 is going to be Lance McAllister and Rocky Boyman. 8 to 10 is going to be Tony Pike and Mo Egger. 10 to midnight is going to be myself and Chick Ludwig. We're going to be on 700 WLW. We might be on ESPN 1530 that night as well. I'm not sure if it's a simulcast. Either way, come out and join us at Dickman's. Draft starts at 8. We'll probably not have the pick when Chick and I are on the air, but we'll be able to react to that pick. Looking forward very much to that, and we'll obviously be reacting to the rest of the NFL draft. So come join us on NFL Draft Day at Dickman's in Fort Wright. Also on Draft Day on ESPN 1530, our normal show, Cincy 360, at 2 p.m. live in studio, Frank Caliendo is going to join us on Draft Day. Cannot wait for that. All right, that does it for me. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ball Don't Lie podcast. Can't wait for the NFL draft next week. We'll talk more about some of those corners and what the latest conversations are about them. And could the Bengals go with another potential need years down the line instead of edge rusher, linebacker, or safety instead of cornerback? Could they go with a different position? We'll talk about all that as well. If you liked what you heard, you can hear me weekdays noon to 3 on ESPN 1530. You can also follow me on any and all social media at Auty Elmore. That's AUTYELMORE. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, share it with somebody. It really does help. And we'll talk to you again next week. As always, have fun, be safe. Go Bucks.